Hi, welcome to my channel. It's 2025. Happy New Year to you. Thank you very much for choosing to watch this video. As you can tell, I'm a new YouTuber and the journey might be a little difficult, but hey, you can go on and say you were here on day one. All right. There's so much that's expected to happen this year across the African continent. And so I thought to put together 5 things to expect in the year 2025 from Nigeria to Ghana to Cote d'Ivoire to Togo to Cameroon. I'm touching on these 5 West African countries mainly because a lot of my audiences are in West Africa. And so, there's some appetite for things happening in neighboring countries. So that being said, let's get right to it. Now, let's begin at home. If you can't already tell by my accent, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I'm not American. Anyway, look, here in Nigeria, this 2025, our government is getting set to overcome 2 very steep challenges. So the first thing that the government will be trying to do this 2025 is to increase the taxes they collect from Nigerians with a GDP ratio of about GDP to tax ratio of about 10%. Nigeria has one of the lowest GDP to tax ratio in the world, right? And so the federal government is looking to collect more taxes from Nigerians. All of this is codified into something called the Tax Reform Bill 2024. It's not been passed into law yet. That's because it's been very contentious. Governors across the country are saying no to it. The Nigerian Labour Congress is also fighting back. However, Taiwo Oyedele, who's like, the chief tax reform guy in the country at the moment, speaks a lot and has been granting a lot of interviews around or about this tax reform bill and what it actually would mean for Nigerians in practical terms. So you might want to follow Taiwo Oyedele on Twitter because, he's the tax guy. He's better at articulating all of these ideas that the government has for Nigerians come 2024. However, a lot of Nigerians, again, you can already tell, don't like the idea of paying taxes, not to talk of paying more taxes. And, you can't blame them. I mean, when you see some of the infrastructure that we have to put up with in this country, it leaves you wondering where are all of your taxes going to? I mean, even the little that we pay, where did they go to? But then again, many would say, look, pay your taxes if you want this infrastructure to, see some form of development. So that's one thing to expect this 2025. If the tax reform bill is passed into law, well, that could significantly affect the amount that you pay in taxes to the federal government. So that's one. One other thing that would be really big in Nigeria this year is the government's attempt at fighting back inflation. So at the moment, inflation officially is somewhere around 35%, 34.6%. But look, word on the streets and many other experts, independent experts, are saying it's actually somewhere around 39-40%. And so the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in his New Year's speech on the 1st of January, promised Nigerians that this year they're going to try to drive inflation down to 15% because it's a mad thing. I know that a lot of people are wondering, I didn't do loud spending this December, so what happened to the money in my account? And not gonna lie, I believe you. You didn't do loud spending. No, for real, I believe you. But look, there's inflation outside. When you were shouting Italawa, inflation too was shouting Italawa. So it really eats into your income. And it's not like you did loud spending. Just while you were outside, inflation too was outside. And that really, slammed your earnings really, really hard. But the government is saying, look, we're going to try to drive down inflation, particularly food inflation, to around 15%. And look, that's going to be a steep challenge, like I said, for the federal government, because this year they want to collect more taxes, but they also want to drive down inflation. Now, Nigerians want you to drive down inflation, but they don't want to necessarily pay more taxes. So I don't know how that's going to work. But this year, the work is cut out for the federal government of Nigeria. So good luck to them. Away from Nigeria, let's take a look at what's happening in Togo this year. Togo, again, another West African country, if you're not familiar. The president, Faure Yasingbe, has been in power since 2005. And last year, the country rather passed a very interesting bill into law. Essentially, only parliamentarians can now vote for the president. It's no longer the entire country, right? Right now, only parliamentarians can vote for the president. And given that the people in parliament are mostly the president's cronies, his cousins, his friends, his guys, them. Many people believe that that election in Togo is, fill in the blank, but we cannot call it democratic. But yeah, that's what to expect from Togo this year. President Yasingbe will try to extend his lead. I think the elections are due sometime in February, maybe March. I'm not quite sure, but obviously, if you keep watching this channel, I'll let you know about the election when the time comes. Now, away from Togo, let's move over to another West African country where things are going to be looking a little interesting when it comes to the politics in the country as well, and that is Cameroon, right? And this is interesting because the president of Cameroon, Paul Biya, has been in power since, look, he's the world's longest running president. He's 91 now, and he's the world's longest. We've lost count. He's the longest, so just take it like that. Anyway, Paul Biya at 91 might be seeking re-election. Well, except something else happens. But if things continue as they are, Paul Biya will be seeking re-election in Cameroon. And but I do know that I've spoken to a few Cameroonians who did not like that idea at all. So, yeah, interesting times for the country this 2025 as well. Sorry. I'm a little clumsy. Just I knocked off the camera under the table. I'm probably out of focus now, but who knows? We'll get to that later. Also countries and stuff to look out for this year. Ghana. So last year, don't forget that former President John Mahama was re-elected into power again, and congratulations to Ghana, I guess. But again, many are asking, are there no new faces in Ghana? Why are we recycling the same old person? And quite frankly, I don't know why Ghanaians did that, but I reckon they have a very good reason for re-electing President John Mahama into power. Now, the task in front of President John Mahama is also very steep as well. The country has been dealing with some economic crisis in recent times. And so President John Mahama will be looking to turn around the economic situation of this country, hopefully, for the better. Yeah, I mean, he was just re-elected a couple of weeks ago. He's just starting out, still putting things together. So we'll take the first year to just see how things improve in Ghana, right? Wishing you all the best, Ghanaians. Okay, away from Ghana, let's move over to Cote d'Ivoire, where there is also another election set to happen this year as well. They're already, planning for the 2025 presidential election. Former Prime Minister Pascal Guessin has been named the candidate for the Popular Ivorian Front, FPI. And hopefully that's, a peaceful election. Another West African country. We're excited to see democracy continue to spread across the continent. And so it will be interesting to see what happens with the elections in Ivory Coast this year. Again, another country that has said that it wants to kick out all French military installations in the country. That's a very significant move, right? So if the Ivorians are able to, if the current president, is able to do something about that, it will be great to see what this means for Ivory Coast and France's relationship going forward. But also, for the election, it'll be interesting to see how that also plays out into the campaigns and the messaging and all of that as we move forward to the elections. And speaking of elections, we can also expect some elections in Gabon this year. Well, if that happens, it would mean the end of the military regime in the country. So that would be great to see. Tanzania also has its presidential election holding this year. That's the only African country at the moment with a female president. So fingers crossed for Tanzanians. It'll be interesting to see what changes in the country following this presidential election. I think that'll be holding towards the end of the year anyway. So fingers crossed for that. Look, there's so many things happening across the continent. I did say I was going to look at 5 countries only, but ended up going over the mark. However, if I've missed out any, and I mean any country where something very interesting, could be happening this year, how about you talk to me in the comment section? Let me know, and I'll cover it in the next episode. But right now, though, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and welcome to the family.